Carpenters? Bill? Discussion? Anybody have any comments?
Dwight here. I think this budget is under the circumstances a very prudent one, and still allows us to function properly and serve our membership as best we can here going forward. You know, after we get into 2021, but 2022 will be another thing. So,
Anybody on any other comments? I can't see everybody's face here. Carrie here? I see a icon, but I don't see. Oh, hi, Carrie. Well, the only item that I think we need to start looking at is the office, which is being underutilized. Most businesses are looking at saving money or cutting costs in this environment. Our lease expires on December 31st. Building is not really that an attractive location. There's a 7% increase in the rent from last year built into this budget, 7 or 8%. I'm of the belief that we should save the rent and the HST attached to it, which brings it quite a bit over $26,500 for the lease plus HST, and operate operate at home, as most businesses are doing right now with management staff, and consider looking for a place a year from now when this COVID thing hopefully is in a decline. So that's my thoughts. Any comments?
Lloyd here. I totally disagree at this point in time with shutting our office down. I think we'd be admitting defeat here in light of what's going on. The COVID-19 virus is rounding the bend. The area where we're in is got a tremendous development area. We have an opportunity to rent a small office, which we don't use, which would subsidize our rent in the long run. And in checking areas and rents and square footage and locations, there isn't one in the downtown core any better than what we've got. And I really disagree with that. If we're going to spend some money, we need to have something that's doable, where we can meet and take care of business, which we've had. And I think Annette had provided a list up to this past year of rental income and stuff. So I think we should just stay the course right now. And it's too close to the end of the year to try to upheave everything and the rest of it here. And we shouldn't expect Annette to work from home for nothing and the rest of it here. And it just, to my way of thinking, doesn't make sense. But that's my comments as well.
Any other comments?
George,
Yeah. May I?
Sorry, any?
Yeah, may I, John?
Sure. Josh?
Yeah, thank you. Through you. That's a really interesting proposal. We just had a very similar motion at council where we basically said that if you don't have to come into work, you shouldn't have to. Employees were going to be getting touch stations. I'm not even sure I'm going to have an office at the new city hall. I don't know that now's the time to make that decision, but I definitely think that we're paying $22,000 for that office downtown?
I believe the number comes to $26,550, but it's just from memory, but it's somewhere in that. I believe it's close to that.
I mean, many people in the real estate industry and economy are discussing, a potential significant crash in commercial real estate rates, specifically because of the work from home movement that's going to be happening. And as much as I like our location downtown, I definitely think this is a conversation we should have. I mean, there's also an opportunity for us to have like a touchdown station for the downtown BIA, but at least for the next year, it's unlikely that we're going to be back to having in-person meetings for a while. Is this something we could put on the regular board agenda to have a discussion about, or is this something that you were hoping to have decided today?
Is that a question for me?
Well, it was your.
Yeah, so then the situation is that the lease is a one-year lease and it expires on December 31st. So the window to save $26,550 is now. And the time frame for the office being open is, or not being open, is such that recently, in the last 7 or 8 months, it's either not been open for weeks on end, which is safe in the way it should have been. And now we're down to a day here, a day there. We're not going to be having meetings like you say, so its value to us is marginal, if anything. It's unsafe for Annette. The two places I do know what the rent are, my place and the old record store, are significantly lower rates than what we're paying. And the location it's ugly. I mean, it's called, most of the merchants downtown call it the hooker's corner. Annette has to lock the door constantly. So it's not an attractive spot. It's a location that I think we're overpaying for the location. We're using about 800 square feet, and there's quite a bit more than that there. There's been a point saying we can make $500 a month rent, but since June of 2015, the average has been $190 a month, so it's far from hitting 500. And we go months at a time with nothing. So I think we would be prudent, the fact that we're under a bit of distress because of the lack of funding coming from the casinos. There would be a proper business decision to make that is so common in the world today, to set it aside and then look for a place when, I believe, and as Josh said, there will be a more attractive locations and at a better cost. I think we'll be doing the best thing for the taxpayers. We can leave it for another meeting, because when I looked at the lease, the 60-day out didn't actually specify 60-day notice at the end of the term. It was just give 60 days notice. So literally, if the landlord sold the building and or he wanted to use the building, he just has to give us 60 days notice virtually any time. There's no restriction on that 60-day notice. So and it just sticks in my craw to give a 7% increase at this point in time. That's a landlord's a bit of a disconnect from reality, asking for increases at this point in time when we're not even using the property. But that's another case altogether. I support getting rid of it and saving $26,500 plus HSD, and then we can park that money, and hopefully we get a year from now, we'll be in a position where this will be under control, and we can use that $26,500 as a splurge point to do things a year from now during the Christmas season.
So if I may,
that's really where I am. Anyways, go ahead, Josh.
my final question would be, like, at this time, if we were at council, I would ask for staff opinion. So I'm going to ask, like, it's your office, Annette. Do you feel that, do you want to keep it? If you want to keep it, I support what you want. It's your office. You're our executive director. But if you feel that it's underutilized or unnecessary, or, like, I want to know what you think.
I would suggest keeping it. We have the potential to lease out the back space. I've had a call from Kathy Oden of somebody looking for that space. We're right in between two huge developments that are coming. I have business owners pop in here and there, unexpected. That won't happen if the office is at my house. I don't have the room at my house to have an office. I think there's a lot of expenditures to close the office and move, letterhead, things like that, and then to reopen, there would be other costs. So personally, I'm not in support of closing the office.
One more question. Is there room to negotiate our lease? considering the COVID climate and is that
Um,
an option? Who
that-
negotiated the lease to begin with? Sorry.
That increase brings us up to $14.95 a square foot, where space that I've looked at, there could be $15 a square foot and then TMI at the end of the year, which brings it up to about $25 a square foot. So when we moved here, it was a GK York property who gave us this space for next to nothing. It's a new owner who's trying to bring us up to the market rent. So these increases have been small each year to get us up to that point, and I still don't think we're at market rent.
So just to answer the question though, and if you don't have the answer, that's fine. Is there room to negotiate our lease? Is there an opportunity to say, look, we want a reduced rate or we're going to seek greener pastures?
I think the landlord would be open to any discussion.
I think both options have merit. I'd be willing to support a motion to investigate a renegotiation of lease and to have a more full discussion about this prior to having to. Sorry, last question. What happens if we don't renew the lease? Does it just expire? You get thrown out on the street?
I would
I don't know
assume
the
so.
terms of our lease.
I believe the lease is a 1-year lease, but it has a curious 60-day notice that you can have the notice to by either party, by the landlord or by the tenant. It's an unusual clause because it isn't actually tied to the end of the lease. It's just it's an open clause. So if the landlord sells a property and has a tenant wants to go in right away, we're out in 60 days. And also at the same time, if we want to, we have a 60. I believe that's how I got it on late last week, and I haven't really talked to a lawyer about it, but it reads that way to me because the clause that has the 60-day notice is not attached to the term of the lease in the document. So it looks pretty wide open. It's a bit much to do right at this moment, but I think Josh is on the right path. I think we need to start dialogue in that area. Putting it on the agenda of the next board meeting is probably not a bad idea if everyone agrees to that. Josh?
I mean, it's your motion, so I'll leave it to the board.
Can I put in something?
Can anybody hear me?
If Annette's working from home, she's going to have to be compensated for using her home for.
Right.
I don't think it's a really good idea. I think it would be a good idea to find someplace else that's cheaper. Like you say, right now the location is crappy. But we have to have an office to look professional. We can't work out of the house there has to be some sort of storefront or office front, something that says BIA on the door, I think. That's me.
Wait here.
Barb's been trying to
Wait.
talk.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Sorry.
Wait here.
It's still
Go
low.
ahead.
Can anybody
Dwight?
hear me?
A
Annette,
little.
Can you hear me? A little
It's
bit?
it's very low.
It's very low. Can I speak a
Yeah.
little louder? Can you hear
Yes.
me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I've been waiting to speak. Those who are working from home, and we'll use City Hall as an example and other organizations, they have taken their jobs from their organization and working from home. What we're talking about is taking an entire organization and moving the entire organization to somebody's home, being a net. It's just not ideal to give up a visible location since you've had it for so long and then disappear from the street. I'm afraid, it's not ideal for Annette. B, I think it sends the wrong message to our entire membership that we're rolling up our location. So, what does that tell everybody? Yes, that we're trying to save some money, but at the same time, I think we need to maintain a physical location until we find another physical location. And I agree with Josh that we should try to negotiate the lease if there's wiggle room there. And, let's do that. It can't wait until the next board meeting. Unfortunately, it needs to be done now because the lease is up the end of December.
Dwight here.
Dwight?
Yes,
Dwight?
we all know that the rents are going up through the roof and the tremendous development downtown and the rest of it here. And at this present time, it's interesting that John brought that 60-day escape clause up there, and it's well worth investigating that as far as that's concerned. It was put in there for, I'm sure, for both parties. I'd like to get some clarification on that and the rest of it as far as we're going on. But I don't think now is the time. We have the money in the budget. We're not strained. There isn't a big issue, and to set on another 26,000 there and the rest of it here doesn't make sense to have an upheaval at this time, especially in light of everything going on. We need to have a constant direction. We have an office that people are aware of. There isn't one location downtown that's a good location right now because of the drugs and all that going on and the rest of it. But the amount of development down there in that area and end of town here is not shabby. The Oriental restaurants across the road. There's dentists and other things. So I really am against. We can negotiate at any time and take a look for a better place. As Barbara said, we were trying to piggyback maybe and get into the new city hall if that was available in space, but that apparently isn't doable at this point in time. But I'm all for making a move if it's for the better, but I don't see where right now at this point in time we're going to be really saving ourselves anything but a whole bunch of upheaval and the rest of it here. So I'm totally against changing the office location at this short notice and time with stuff.
I have my hand up, Karen.
Sorry, Karen? Yeah. Thank you, Dwight.
I do not support this this motion, as I think the optics that we care about our downtown, that we're there to support our businesses, that we need to have a presence. The only suggestion I would make is that if we explore the costs and there isn't any wiggle room, can we go month to month? If we look at potentially down the road a better location, so that we have that flexibility. If we're happy with the 60-day flexibility, that's fine too. But I strongly disagree with us not being in the downtown. We are the downtown. We represent the downtown. We need to stay there.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah, if I may, John.
Let's see. Josh?
Yeah,
Josh?
sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with most members here with like now is maybe not the time, but I definitely think we should lean heavily on our partnerships with the city, Conestoga, and Laurier. I mean, Laurier has this beautiful One Market building with vacancies and an opportunity to be able to maybe have like a touchdown station similar to what the BRC has inside the Laurier building. And City Hall, I never even thought about that, considering we just moved our motion to have so many people. Imagine we could have a touchdown or like a location or an office space inside the new City Hall building. I don't even know where that came from, but that would be wild. We'd have security, we'd have like reception. Maybe that's something we could lean more heavily on. And I think there's room for this discussion. I just don't think it's now. I'm in agreement with most people.
Okay, so
Something in that?
I was just going to say that we reached out to City Hall and were told no, there was no space available. All the space was accounted for.
Was that pre or post?
It was in around the same time. I can't say for absolutely sure, but it was in around that time.
Well, I mean, perhaps there's room to have that discussion again. That's all.
So I believe it was a consensus that we examine the lease and have some discussions with the university and City Hall leave the budget as it is and have a vote on it, and proceed to the board meeting and possibly add this to the board meeting's next agenda to just to hash out and see what we want to do with regards to possibly renegotiating the lease or even talking to these other bodies about taking the location. So if there's, Barbara?
Yep, sorry, John. Again, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I think we can go ahead and negotiate the lease, you know, have a discussion with the landlord without any approvals required. You know, that's just something we can just go ahead and do, yourself and myself particularly. And let's just sit down with the landlord and see if we can negotiate something. But it's not going to affect our vote on the budget right now.
No. So that's what I was just saying. We just move forward to the vote and. So,
Dwight,
all in, can I call the vote?
no, Dwight here.
Dwight?
I think that 30-day escape clause is more than fair for anybody with what's going on if stuff's negotiated. If that is in fact, I think that we need a little bit more clarification on that clause within that lease when we're negotiating and taking a look at it here. But that's all I got to say.
Okay, anyone else? Let me call the vote. And all of the that approve the budget, put your hands up. Those against or opposed? Any? Okay, carried, unanimous. And what do we got? I think that's it.
That's it.
I have to pull this.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
November 12th is the next board.
Yep. Okay, then all agreed, the meeting's adjourned?
Agreed.